Welcome, everybody, to Beyond the Stars episode 4. I think this is 4. And today, it's just going to be me, Leah, hanging out with our graphics designer, and everyone knows her as Zem, Jen. Jen, say hi.
Hi.
And this is something that we've been talking about doing for months, so I'm glad that we finally are sitting down and recording it. There was a slight disagreement between Arthur and I about who was going to get to record this with you, and I was like, come on, who is it going to be more entertaining with?
Yeah. Well, the problem is if Arthur were to be interviewing me, I would be spending the entire time just trying to trip him up because that's what I do.
It's true. It's true. But we'll just get right into it because I'm going to try to keep this to like an hour, and we have a tendency to go off topic. So we have told the story about how we met and how we got into D&D at least 2 or 3 other times. So we're not going to go there this time. Instead, I want to focus on D&D, TTRPGs, role-playing in general, and what was it about that first experience with D&D that really pulled you into this world?
Okay, so whatever, I'm just gonna go with it. So role playing in general is fun. Getting to not be yourself, or the best version of yourself that you can imagine, rather, I guess, is a blast. Being able to defeat your enemies, like, also a really good time. The first time I played, Arthur was the DM of a session with like an absurd amount of people. I knew half of them. It was the first time I met Arthur, so I didn't know him. But uh, when I joined them, I wasn't even sure I was going to play. I spent the first half of their session watching like a creep, and like listening and all that kind of stuff. And it sounded like a lot of fun. So I decided to jump in. And during like the halftime break where everyone went and got food, Arthur spent that time with me building a character like super quickly. And it was your very basic assassin rogue, like 6th level character. And I had come sort of prepared, but not super prepared. Um, uh, but I was able to, I think we were battling hellhounds, and I killed one in my first session. Like it was all me. And I played a forest gnome who like used daggers to climb up the back of this hellhound and then stab the shit out of it in the neck, right? And that's how I killed it. And that was a rush. And then I cut off its tail and made a whip out of it. And like all of the above. I was like, yes, more of that, please, forever and ever. And so here we are.
Yeah, I love that story so much because it illustrates a couple things. Number one, who you are as a person, very important, but also the fact that we've never played standard D&D, and we've always been like, if it's cool and the dice will it, it happens,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
From the very beginning. Yeah, that first character you made though, Seven,
7.
was so much fun. Wait, she had a squirrel pet, right?
Yep, Kronk.
What? Kronk. Yes.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Yes.
So she had a pet squirrel named Kronk. I think she found it in a tavern and it was drunk. I can't remember exactly. But she was a pirate who had severe case of seasickness, so she was never on a ship. But she was so brutal that she was friends with all the pirates. And then Captain Flax Swallow, I think is what we named that. The captain of that ship. Something like that. And yeah, that came in handy in the game at a number of times actually, but yeah, it was Like,
Captain
right.
Flack Swallow. Wow.
Yeah,
That is
yeah.
so D&D.
He was a smuggler. Um,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
yeah. But yeah, no, it was a fun time immediately, and then it kind of never stopped being a fun time. I mean, there were moments,
There,
everyone gets.
there are definitely moments.
Yeah, and there were, some personality clashes in there, but ultimately not bad enough to keep me from the game.
No, I started like a session later than you, and I think we both had that moment after we played the first time that was like, this is my whole personality now. This
Yep,
is who I am as a
this
human
is it.
being.
Yeah,
I have been searching for this rush my entire life. Who needs drugs?
right, right. Yeah. When I can just be a hero or an anti-hero, really.
Yeah.
Yes, please. That's the same character that when we went into the Lich Tower and she
Yes.
stole his
His teacup.
teacup. Oh my God, that was delicious.
That moment, because I think, did the whole party go or was it just you and I
You and I.
honestly, yeah, because I was like, I can't place the, everybody else was there. I don't remember them.
No, no, it
Honestly.
was just you and I.
It was
And
so much fun.
yeah, I don't remember. I think you were talking to the Lich at that point.
Yes.
And while the back was turned, I stole the teacup. And then they didn't, like, they said Arthur said I was successful with stealing the teacup, but like said nothing else about it. And then I was just trying to see if I could do it. So when we left, I turned around and handed the teacup back to the Lich. Like, I believe
I
this is
remember that.
yours.
Yeah.
Which, antagonize the Lich. That's real cool.
Yes. Yes.
But then we took a few steps and the Lich gave it back. So that was like my pride and joy, that teacup.
And it kind of like endeared you to that lich.
Uh-huh.
Arthur was playing the lich as a very like morally gray, but not like when I say morally gray, like clearly this person was a lich and so they were not good. But their choices almost leaned in a good way. They were trying to be helpful. Um
Yeah,
in the most, I mean, mostly, we could be totally wrong about this. There could have been an evil. We never finished that campaign.
we
He
didn't.
could have turned out to be evil at the end. It's hard to say. But I know your character and my character were sort of in love with him.
We were
So
obsessed, one might even say. Yeah.
I was playing a bard in that game and I would randomly just sending messages to him. People would be like, we need to figure out how to do this. I'd be like, hold on, let me call my friend.
Right, yeah. The all-powerful Lich. Let's see what he would do.
The all.
Oh, man.
That was a good time.
It
I
was
missed
fun.
that game. But, okay, one fun, easy question before we dig into the meat here then. You, Jen, I have one option in mind for you. When I say, like, what is your archetype? What is your class slash subclass? Who would you be? And I think I've thought something for a long time, but I think it's not what you would pick for yourself. So I'm curious.
What would I choose for myself? S I This is a really good question, and I'm actually not really sure. I Different things for different reasons, but I think ultimately a fighter, but not a very good one. The funny thing is like I have all the heart of a fighter, but not like the skill. So that's the problem. So maybe a level one fighter, I don't know.
That's so funny because, okay, so real story. I always go between two things for you, right? A
Okay.
druid and a barbarian. And now, I just sent it to you the other day. They made this tree barbarian person for
Yeah.
5.561 D&D, whatever they're calling it now. Uh, and I looked at it and I was like, this is Jen. This is
Yeah.
who Jen is.
I so if I could choose, then yeah, like that for sure, 100%. But like me right now without any other consideration. The other thing that I was actually thinking is cleric. It has less to do with the whole like deity of any type at all. Um but more with like the devout, because like I'm just a really loyal person to my people.
That's
So,
true. That is true. That's a
I
good
mean,
one, and that
even
one I would have picked.
yeah, like, even when I'm trying to be obnoxious to them, I'm still loyal to them.
I have never seen you be obnoxious.
You're the nicest liar ever.
As I said it, I was like, we both are so mean to Arthur. It
We're
gets
so
pointed out so frequently.
I know.
Can't even lie about it. It's just because we love him so much.
Yeah, it's just really fun because he makes it really easy.
He's like our little brother,
Yeah, exactly.
and we pick on him mercilessly.
But like, you're not allowed, and if you do, I will find you and I'll punch you in the nose.
It's true, yeah. If anybody else gave him shit, we would just end them forever. Gone. I don't know if we've talked about this in any of our episodes we've done before. But when I first met you, I was super like intimidated by you.
That's hilarious.
I was.
I can see it because I have what is known as resting bitch face.
You do. You do.
I do. And then on top of that, I am a massive introvert. So like my resting bitch face paired with my complete comfortability in silence would be intimidating, because like I don't feel the need to feel silence. Which is an odd thing for a podcaster to say.
That's true.
But
Well, and that's something that I found really. So we started playing together in like 2017, right around now. This is almost, a year, 6 years to the day that we've been playing together. And very soon after we started playing together, we would just throw out the idea of like, we should podcast. We're entertaining. And you and Arthur specifically were always like, no, we are not interested in doing that, because you're both very introverted. Also,
Yeah.
this is a lot of work, but you're also very introverted and don't necessarily like to put yourself out there in this way.
Yeah.
So after 6 years, well, 5 years of wearing you down, what finally changed your mind?
My biggest concern with having a character on a podcast is the fact that I cannot do voices. The idea of doing a voice puts me into so much like an anxiety spiral, because like I'm sure that I could, but I have zero confidence about it, and I would need to practice, and like I just don't think about it.
Yeah.
Unlike Arthur, who's like a freaking magician,
Yeah.
I don't know. So for me, it was like, well, what if my character dies? What if we have, multiple characters or whatever? It's just, you're just listening, so you're never going to know the difference between my characters. But at a certain point, I was like, I don't care anymore. Like this, I want to play. This sounds fun. This is going to be a really cool project. Let's see where it goes. And here we are a year and a half later.
I know.
But yeah, so the next character I play is going to sound exactly like Zamira.
You'll just differentiate them by personality,
Oh man, yeah. I put so much of myself in Zamira though that like I don't know.
You're gonna
I'll
have to
just
play someone
focus.
who's just like saccharine sweet,
Yeah, like I'll focus on the nice aspects of my personality because I can be nice. Just
Yes. Yeah. You're very nice.
everything about the way that I've chosen to play Zamira is like myself. If I didn't want to be nice, like if I had no like qualms about just being a bitch all the time.
Yes. Listen, and the thing is I like that about Zamira. I like that Zamira, she's very guarded for good reason. We've met most of the important people from her backstory, and they've all been terrible except for Shar and his parents.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that Zem is very guarded. But she also, like, she has her moments where she lets you see that she's a little bit of a marshmallow inside.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that that's like, when you roast marshmallows and like you catch it on fire and the outside is so like dark and angsty.
Yes. Yes.
There's nothing like there's no even cooking for her marshmallow. It's 100% stuck straight over like into the bonfire. Uh and but it's just a shell.
She's great,
And
though.
maybe we'll see more and more of that. I don't know.
I there I don't know when I'm going to release this and where we'll be in the episode, so
Mm-hmm.
I can't say anything for fear of spoilers, but
Mm-hmm. I know.
some stuff happens in the episodes we just recorded that could totally make or break that for her. And you both have a big decision to make about where this story goes from here that is also going to seriously change her. So,
I have a lot of thoughts, a lot of ideas. I've told you a couple of them.
yeah.
Sometimes something will pop into my brain out of absolutely nowhere, and I will literally sit straight up from like whatever I'm doing, wherever I'm at. I'm like, if I'm at work, I have to write it down. Like, what the hell, like this, whatever idea it was.
Yeah.
It's been really interesting trying to play this game, like this game in particular, without like keeping in mind what I don't know and trying to play true to my character without those considerations is not easy.
I know.
So a lot of these decisions, like a certain thing that I might have grabbed recently.
Listen, on that topic, like, what? Okay, we're gonna talk about this moment because this is already out, and like, I need to talk about it. But when Shar decided to jump out that window, right, and the hit squad was coming for Zamira, I had to make a decision in that moment, right, because there was a bit of like, as a DM, I knew that four if you count Zem, of the most powerful casters on the continent are standing in that room right now. The chances of these monks being able to overpower you all was very small. Unless they already knew that you would all be there. But there's no way they would have known. There's no way. And so, like, do I change the encounter and make it more difficult to make it more likely that I'm going to get Zamira? Or do I just sort of let it play out as it would in a fair scenario, which is what I chose to do. But like, ugh, those, you want to play to the meta knowledge so bad sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that whole scene, the whole split scene really was so well done, like if I do say so myself. But that's something that I thought that you did really well, because even like I know the goal was to abduct one or the other, and I know that the aim was for Zamira because it was Xander and he's always going to protect Shar in his way. But it was the I don't know about my fight versus the gut-wrenching emotional side of Shar's fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
So good.
We had giant apes smashing people and throwing people out windows on one side. And on the other side, we have this like flirt fighting going on between Shar and Xander that's just delicious. And hopping between the two moments was great times.
It was really good. It was
great times.
Yeah, for sure.
That is one of the things I love about having a two-player party. Like, sure, balance is difficult sometimes, and things like, oh, a crab almost killing you happens. But if you try to split people up into smaller groups, like, you run out of time so quickly. And here with just the two of you, I can just indulge my own curiosities about what you would do in these moments, which makes for these really emotional, like heart-wrenching scenes that we can just like get into,
Absolutely.
which is so much fun.
It is. It tells such a great story too, because I think that combat in larger parties can become really cold, and anyone who's played in a larger party knows that you're just waiting for your turn to come around. And a lot of the time that can be boring. I mean, let's face it. Even if you're doing your best to be engaging, if you're waiting for five people ahead of you, by the time they do all of the things that they need to do, it's like, ugh, and then you forget where people are, and like who's grappled, who's not grappled, what kind of weird ass spells are going on that like I shouldn't hit them, I should hit them harder, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But like with just two of us, it's a lot more nuanced as far as what does it look like, and what are you feeling behind this thing or whatever. I think that's a lot of fun to play. And
Yeah.
I don't want to say I had doubts, but I had no idea how it was going to go when we were talking about like a two-person party. I was like, weird, as if one of us dies, what do we
I
do?
know. Yeah, I mean, for a while, we really wanted that third person, and we thought about it, and we kicked around different ideas of like who we should get or how we should get a third person. Did we want to bring in somebody we didn't know to shake it up? Did we want to bring in somebody we did know? And finding somebody we did know with a schedule that would work was a whole other thing. And so, we finally said like, screw it, let's just run with two people. My only concern about it was that, so I am loud. This is obvious to anybody who can hear me speak. We also played in a lot of games with other people who were quite loud. You and Arthur are not loud people.
We're
And
not.
so I was incredibly curious how this was going to play out with just the two of you, because you're not loud. Because for once, the two quiet people were going to have to be loud. You have to drive the story, right?
Right.
And it has been so much fun for me to watch this play out. Because even though I've played with you both for so long, it's like watching you play a whole different game, because you aren't being kind of like shoved out of the scene so frequently by somebody who's a little louder than you.
Yeah. I think that I just, as a person, I enjoy being in the moment. And for me, a lot of that is just shutting the fuck up and
Yeah.
like witnessing what's happening, hearing what's happening, that sort of thing, like active listening. And I don't want to miss things. And so I just will let other people finish.
Mm-hmm.
But there are people that are the exact opposite of me
Yes.
in those cases. And like it's fine. But then it does end up, when I do have something to say, I might not necessarily know like when and how to jump in. And then I just get frustrated. And that's a me thing, because that's, not anyone else's responsibility to know when I have something that I want to say. Like I need to learn how to say things.
I mean, a
Uh,
little. It is other people's responsibility to make space for everybody to speak. So,
yes, a little column A, a little column
a
B.
little column A, a little column B.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, so I am so glad we ended up with this makeup, because I love seeing what it has done for how the two of you play this game. Because also, Arthur is always the one, when we would be starting a campaign, he would be like, everybody else make your characters, I'll just fill in a hole somewhere, right?
Yep.
Which is fine,
Yep.
except I want to see what you would do if there were just there's 2 people in this party.
Mm-hmm.
There's gonna be things missing. Now you just have to pick something that you want to play. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. And it truly didn't matter because we were never going to be like quote unquote balanced. I mean,
no.
I think we are good. Like we have a really good makeup between the 2 of us. But that being said, you know, we like with just 2 in the party, we were always going to rely on an NPC here and an NPC there because,
Absolutely.
you know, we would just have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. He's always done that. Like, I mean, and it's not exactly, like he said, it's not exactly been a hardship for him because he creates characters as a hobby.
Yes.
I mean, he's got like hundreds in his back pocket ready to go.
Yeah.
And every time they come out with like a modification or a new subclass or whatever, he's like, "Whoop, I'm gonna make more."
He's a great party member to have.
Absolutely.
I love him very much. But because the 2 of you are not selfish players, I want to see you both be selfish sometimes because I want to see what you would do if you weren't worried about other people. You know what I mean? And that's fun. Although, if I were to drop Zem and Shar into a stereotypical dungeon with like locked doors and traps, the 2 of you would just die instantly. You have no skills.
We have no skills. I think it's funny because I have hobbled Zamira a little bit with the spells that I have, and I know that I'm able to change that up, except we've not like spent money wisely. So I don't have like, you know, the material components and or time to actually get that completed. But that's neither here nor there. A lot of those spells were like, it was stuff that she had at school, that she would use at school. And I do want to take the time, and I think at a certain point we'll be able to change that up, to arm her a little bit better, because most of what she's had, and don't get me wrong, it's worked beautifully, it's just witch bolt over and over and over.
It's so many witch bolts.
Yeah, it's sort of like, you know, a certain other wizard and a certain spell that this other wizard uses on repeat, and it's constantly. Just sort of like, are you for real?
I really wish that I had been keeping track of some sort of kill count, though, because Zem would be winning and it wouldn't be close.
It wouldn't.
Not even at all.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know if that was a conscious decision between us. Like, if Arthur made this call, I don't think we've talked about it. I think that it makes perfect sense that, like, of the 2 of us, I'm the murderess.
It does make a lot of sense. And back to that episode we've been referencing this whole time, though, when there was that one monk left that had been dominated by Ristos, and Shar just took her out in the hallway and murdered her because she had heard too much. That was such a character moment and a character choice for Shar. And I really hope that we get a chance to talk about that more at some point in time, because I just feel like that took something from him to do that, or he had lost something to be able to do that, because that Shar is not the same Shar we started this game with.
Well, I 100% agree. I am of the opinion that it's like unlocking keys to the prison that he's put himself in, an emotional and character prison.
Yeah.
And every, I mean, even just running out the window and running after Xander, I mean, that was a Zem move 100%.
Yes. Yes.
So there's like a line, and I'm finding that line, like, for Zmira, but also the fact that Shar is as well, as like from the other side. Really cool.
Yeah, and like a little peek behind the curtain, and this will transition into the next thing I wanted to talk about. See, we're getting off on this tangent, but it's so much fun to follow. When you were doing the journal art project that you were working on for Zem forever ago. That was way back, like almost when we started the podcast, like a year ago, right?
Yeah.
There was one page that you had made that had a line on it that really stuck with me all this time, and I've been slowly weaving it into the story, and it's coming to fruition now. And that line said something like, the dark and the light come from the same place. I think that's what it said. And so as we've been exploring this, and as I've been kind of like pushing buttons, the idea for Zem is like, I am manifesting these dark powers, but I am good. And there is good in me, even though this thing is evil or bad or the other side of the coin, whatever words. Yes. with Shar, it is now the opposite. He's manifesting these radiant, bright powers, and then he has people like Adria and Nox saying to him, like, you think that you have this good, this bright, shining power, but these two things come from the same place, and there's darkness in you as well, and here are the places where that is true. And then his character doing this thing, this evil action, right? While Zem is out here trying to do these good things, and seeing that, like, dichotomy playing out between these two characters.
Yeah, it feels very fated to me, where, you know, we make all these choices and these decisions, and I do no prep. I think that it just it behooves them for me to not do that. I don't want to be prepared, because she does her best work, I guess. I don't know. In the moment. I mean, the calls that she makes, gut decisions, that kind of thing. Yeah. I don't know. I love all of it, because it almost feels like it doesn't matter what you say or do. Certain things are just going to happen. And at the same time, you still have a choice. Like, the only thing you can control is yourself.
Yes.
And that is very frustrating and also rewarding and everything in between.
Absolutely. And that's why whenever people ask me if we ever script moments or talk about things beforehand, I'm like, I realize that things are playing out in a way that it might seem like that because these like moments manifest themselves, but you're giving us way too much credit.
Yeah.
I assure you that none of us are doing that amount of scripting. As a matter of fact, as we've gone on, I've found it harder and harder to prep for our recording sessions because I don't know what the hell you're going to do. And every 3 or 4 episodes, we're having these huge moments that change like where you're going and what's happening and stuff. So by the time we record the 3rd episode we are scheduled to do in a day, I'm like, I need a moment. I need a moment to process where we are because you were supposed to go A and you're going like G. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we usually do what we do. I mean, we'll record maybe some Patreon content or whatever, and then we'll do 2 episodes. We usually break, eat food, just kind of have some downtime and then roll into the next episode, because we need that time to like
to think,
let our brains catch up to everything that we just did. And sometimes it's like, you know, character building or on the more chill side, and sometimes it's complete world affecting, and it just depends.
The amount of decisions that have been made in the last 6 episodes that we've recorded that fundamentally change anything is huge. It's huge.
Yeah. The past, like this past weekend's recording, I don't know, it's going to stick with me for a long time. It was the most stressed out, the most rewarding, the most intriguing, inspiration, like stirring. I don't know. It was crazy this weekend. And I'm like, I'm so nervous to talk about it because like I don't want to spoil anything, but I am so excited for
I
these
know.
episodes to get out there.
I am also so excited. I feel like, I mean, we've been building up to this for a year and a half. And so, I mean, I don't want to say that this is background information because it's not at all. Like, this is a third of our story that we're telling in this season of Slay the Stars, right? But it feels very much like we've set the scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
We took 63 episodes because spoilers, that's how many episodes are in the first arc of Slay the Stars.
Mm-hmm.
63 episodes, and now it's like game set, right? Most of the players are in motion. We know mostly what they want, right? And now we have our two players, our Shar and Zem, and they know as much as they're going to know. And now they have to make a move. They can't run anymore. They have to make a move, and it's going to change everything.
Yep. Yep. And I know where I want to go. But I'm so scared.
I I know where I want you to go. It's we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, so talking about the book was supposed to lead into the next thing I wanted to talk about, which was whenever we were deciding when we decided to make Slay the Stars and we decided to do this podcast, one of the things that
Mm-hmm.
we were talking about was like what sort of roles we were going to have. And because Arthur and I have no talent when it comes to actual physical art, I don't know what else to call it because it's not physical, it's all digital now. But like, anyway, art, drawing, painting, that sort of art,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, we were like you because you love art. Is that something that has always been a thing for you?
I have always loved art. One of the I have this picture. Well, my mom has this picture of me. Um, it was shortly after my twin brothers were born, so I'm probably 4 in this picture. I have pigtails like either side of my head. Um, and this will speak to not only like the art piece, but also my neurotic side. I have like a box, like a big box. Like what is it? Like 96 crayons or something, like Crayola crayons.
Yes.
They're all out in front of me, but they're not everywhere. They're literally lined up in a row by color in front of me, very neatly. And I would use a color and whatever I was doing. And when I was done, I would put at the end and roll them all down, and then I would use the next color. Yeah.
Amazing.
But the reason why I mentioned the fact that it was shortly after my brothers were born, it's because my parents were taking so many pictures, and the smile on my face is so forced, like that grimace, like smile, like take the picture. But yeah, like always, I've always loved color. I've always loved mixing color and blending color and stuff like that. Um, but there was a very big portion of my life where I just thought I was bad at it. So I never pursued it. I didn't practice it. Like I didn't do any of that. And like it's a skill like anything else. You have to keep going or it, doesn't what's the word I'm looking for? I'm suddenly out of words.
Like it doesn't
It just
grow or
doesn't develop.
increase. Yeah, it doesn't develop. That's a good word.
Yeah, right. So, I was a significant other of mine, very excellent artist. And so I just always was like, oh, that's your thing, whatever. And then when we were no longer together, he had left some of his art stuff here, and I just bored one day, got into it, and I started watercolor again, and I picked it up out of nowhere. And at first it was just, blending colors on paper. I mean, literally just no shapes, just blending color. and it was fun and whatever. And then I just kept going from there, and I discovered that like I really liked it, and then I got good at it, and then I started back with like acrylic paints, and then I, did sketching, and then I picked up like digital, I think Sketch. I don't remember the app that I was using, but it was I don't think it exists anymore, but at the time just practicing and playing in there, and I don't think that I'm excellent at any of it, but it doesn't matter. I have fun, and I usually like the turnout, so it is what it is. I'm no Cam Gonzalez, because holy crap,
Oh
can
my
that
God.
girl draw? But
Okay. Cam is Cam is frustratingly good.
yeah,
at what she
it's
does.
so good. I don't know how she picks it out of your brain and then puts it
Yeah.
on, like,
Yeah.
it's incredible.
She sends us stuff and she'll be like, "This is a rough draft," and I'll be like, "I
This is the rough draft.
this is the rough draft. I don't. How can
I
this be
still
a
need to
rough
render.
draft?"
What? Yeah.
But let me back up. You are a fantastic artist as well. Let me just say that, okay, there are two things that you do that I think you are amazing at, and I love very much. One of them is your watercolor stuff. Your watercolor stuff is so pretty. And the second is your, what, microphotography? Like little
Oh,
bees
yeah.
and little flowers and stuff. You're so good
Yeah.
at that stuff. And I mean, like, I like everything you do, but those two things really stand out to me as my favorites.
I do really love macro photography. It's been a minute since I've done it. I just haven't really been, um, I just don't think about it. I think I'm just so preoccupied with all the stuff for the podcast. But yeah, I do really love macro photography. I've always loved that. My grandfather, my dad's dad, was a photographer. And a couple people in my family actually are. I have, I think, two cousins who are really into it. And then my brother Ken, he's an amazing photographer. He does such great job, such a great job. He does a lot of different types of photography. But yeah, his website's out there. But I don't do good with people, which is why I'm way more into the macro photography, because it's not people. It's like flowers, and I guess it's some stuff that people might consider creepy, but just taking pictures of bugs and bees and butterflies and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, I've seen some of the pictures you've taken of people as well, and they're not bad. So I also challenge you on that. But yeah, I mean, most of the pictures I've seen you take are flowers and like bumblebees and cute things
Yeah.
like that. And I love it.
I really love bees. They don't bother me. I don't know. I know
They're
a
so
lot of people
cute.
have a fear of bees, but like, I don't know. I don't.
We have been sort of thinking about ways that we could work your art into our Patreon content more lately. And you came up with a particularly interesting concept that has now released its first episode as of the first of this month. I believe it was the first. Might be random. Anyway,
Yeah.
Curious Creations.
Hmm.
Talk about that, where the idea came from, and, are you enjoying it? You having fun?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so this actually, the idea for this was actually Arthur. He made just an offhanded comment, and he had no idea what he spawned when he said it. I think he called it Creepy Craft Time with Jen.
Yes.
And he was joking, but I was like, oh my God, like my eyes got huge. I was like, yep, absolutely 100% yes. I am a collector of crafts. I love creating things, working with my hands, doing artistic stuff, whatever. I love all of that. So I immediately went full focus mode. And I bought backdrop stuff and like, a whole setup. But like, to be honest, I didn't have to buy all that much because a lot of the creepy crap I already had.
It's true.
But that being said, I have a whole list of different crafts to make that are creepy. One thing I will say is I immediately nixed the idea of creepy crafts because I didn't know what kind of activities I was going to be getting into, and I didn't want to offend anyone with that. And that's why I went with Curious Creations.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, there's a lot of ideas, a lot of things that I am immediately attracted to and I find very interesting and I want to do and explore and all that kind of stuff. But then, like before I go forward with it, I just do some research because I'm also afraid that, something that might just be considered creepy or whatever might actually be a part of somebody's culture.
It's true.
And I don't want to, I don't want to offend, not just because I don't want to be offensive, but also because, if it's significant to someone's culture, then it's like not for us, or rather, at least not for me. So I've been looking into a lot of different things, for that, but I've got a really good list. I have 2 more, episodes basically filmed. They just need put together, and then several more in the works. So we shall see. If anyone has any suggestions, I am open to them, and then I will research them and make sure it's appropriate for me to do said thing. But yeah, it's so much fun. And then I just want to keep making the pieces, the things. So
Yeah. So the first one was insect taxidermy, which was super fun, super cute. That one is on Patreon now. You can get it at our $5 tier. You can watch it. At the $25 tier, you could potentially own it. So, check that out. Patreon.com/slaythestars. Will you give us a sneak preview of the next episode? What is the title? Do you know? Do you know what you're going to call it yet?
I don't know what I'm going to call it yet, but it's I believe the next one we're going to release is the, like a plant cutting holder, like a propagation holder. So it's very natural looking and actually functional. So you could take a plant cutting and put it in there to grow the roots to be able to plant it. So it's not just silly craft. It is actually pretty functional, and I think they're cute. I think they're adorable. So
I'm excited to see it.
yeah.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to have this on our Patreon because we've kicked around different ideas in the past of what we could do as like Patreon exclusive content as a way to say thank you to the people who have been supporting us all this time.
Right.
And ideas of like second shows or extra episodes, bonus things always come up. But like this is something that is like, it feels very special because it is something that only we are providing. Only you are providing this thing, right? It's not us playing more D&D, right? It's this really cool new concept that, you can only get here. It's fun.
Right. And I'm also going to put out there that the character who is actually creating these curious creations is a character we haven't met yet in our story, but they still exist within our world, and that is Guide Vanidae.
Yes.
And I don't know how much we want to release about that at this point in time.
I will say that there is a project that was completed a while ago that I've been having a hard time getting out because of technical difficulties that occurred during the recording. But once that is released, Jen, you and I are going to sit down because that character, Guide Vanity, is going to come into that side story in a big way. And that is all I will say on the topic of that right now. But stay tuned. It's exciting. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting.
Absolutely.
As a fun way to sort of like pull this all together, I just want to talk about like when we were just playing TTRPGs and then having a podcast and now doing all this Patreon content. How has this more like, it feels weird to call it professional, but this like professional TTRPG experience, how has it changed you as like a TTRPG player?
I think that it has made me a better player because I have a lot more confidence in it now than I did before. I actually think that it has less to do with the podcast itself and more just to do with like a smaller, trusted group of individuals. Because I struggle a lot with confidence in things that I don't know. And so one thing, okay, I'm kind of going to back this up a little bit, but you were speaking earlier about how when you first met me, you were like a little intimidated by me, but you and Arthur intimidate the shit out of me all the time to this day. And the reason is that you're so freaking smart. Like, you're one of the most brilliant people I've ever met, and you pick up everything. And it seems so easy. Like, I don't know if it actually is, but to me, it seems like you pick things up very naturally. And Arthur is like that guy that's going to read guidebooks for fun.
Yes,
like instruction manuals.
Yes. He proved that at Gen Con when he bought like 1,000 manuals that he's just going to read.
You really did. So I don't know. I feel like the two of you always know everything. Like, you have your shit together all the time, or know exactly where to go if you don't know like a thing, or if I'm making things up and you're like,
For me personally, yes, I pick up on things. Thank you. That was very sweet to say. But I think a lot of it is also false confidence. I am that person who, like, I will just walk into the room and pretend like I know what I'm doing until I actually figure it out. That's me.
Well, that's funny. But I think that's, I've always, sorry, I don't know why I'm stuttering so hard around this right now, but it was always a big source of, like, it would hit my confidence in a negative way. But after like this and us playing, I care way less. I care way less about that. It's more that like, okay, you're going to have my back. And I think it's because I trust you both so much. And I know that like, you're not going to look at me and be like, what is the matter with you? Like, why don't you know this already or whatever? It's just known that I'm going to be like, well, can I do this? Like, what about this thing? And I'm just going to come in with the ideas and be one of the idea men in this team. And we all do, but like, I'm just going to wild out and then let you guys catch me.
and that is why you and Arthur work so well together in tandem, because you are the big idea person. Like, we're going to do this. And then it's up to him to be like, how do we do it? Right? Right? And it plays out so well with these characters as well.
It does.
And I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think that that's what this has done. Like, and not just, like, yes, on the D&D side, everything that I just said, but also as far as actually putting my art in the world for people to review, like complete strangers. I don't even, like, there's still times where I look at it and I'm like, this blows my mind. This absolutely blows my mind. And so I joke now all the time, like, someone's going to have to check my ego. Yes. Doing bad things for my ego.
I know. Every time. And I will say, like, 100% of the comments that we ever get, people talk to us, everybody's super nice, right? We have been so fortunate. The internet has been very kind to us for the most part. And I have also had the same feelings. I've said the same thing. Like, somebody needs to take Twitter away from me because people are too nice to me and I'm getting too confident. Like somebody stop me.
I know. I feel the same way. Although I will say that I think that all of Arthur's talents are so immediately obvious. And then you're the voice of our little like project. So there are times where I sit back here and I'm like, hello, I'm here too.
Okay, you heard it here, everybody. Jenn needs some love. Everybody send Jenn many loving messages.
Well,
Uh,
it's just that like I'm just not out there, you know, like I'm not like he's the voice, you're the face, you're the voice, he's the face. I don't know, one of those things. And then I don't know. It's just funny to me because like I said, being a lifelong member of the introvert club, uh this is not a feeling I am used to.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think the thing with Arthur is that a lot of the people that we talk to regarding the podcast are other podcasters, other people in the TTRPG community. The first thing they notice is how good our audio quality is, which is 98% him.
Yeah.
It is just him out here turning the trash into treasures. That's what he does.
He is a wizard.
He is a wizard. And so, yeah, he gets so much love and all the love in the world he deserves because he's tried to teach me on multiple occasions to do half of the stuff that he does, and I can't grasp a quarter of it. So,
Oh, I've said this to both of you on numerous occasions. I have absolutely no desire, none whatsoever. I do not want to sit and listen to all the like pen clicks and weird sharp S's that I know that I do, and like the popping and the clicking and like all I can't.
yeah, I usually go through and do the first listen and like the dirty cuts just to get most of the bad stuff out, and then he goes through and cleans it up and fine tooth combs it. And I will say that it's gotten better. In the beginning, it was painful, especially when we couldn't figure out the noise on the mics, which was the phones
Yeah.
being too close. By the time I would finish an episode, I would be like literal, almost angry crying. Like, I need to stop this. So I get it. I get why you were like, I don't want any audio editing because same. Who wants to do it? But in the process of doing this podcast, was there anything about creating it that really surprised you? Something that you really enjoyed that you didn't think you would? Or something, alternatively, something you thought you would really like that you don't?
Yeah, absolutely. I immediately loved my voice. Like, I mean, do you remember that day, like that first day when Arthur was doing the playbacks and I was like, is that my voice?
Yes. Yes.
Most people hear their voice and they're like, get the hell out of here. Like, I don't want to hear that. I hate my voice, whatever. And I was like, good Lord, I would marry my voice. Like,
Yes. It's true.
you know, and it's not that like I feel like I have the best voice in the world. It's just that I was surprised what it sounded like on professional quality recording. I was like, holy crap. All right. Okay, cool.
Yeah, having the right mic is so important.
Yeah, I still can't sing for shit, but you know, my average speaking voice is just fine.
You have a lovely voice. I've listened to it for probably close to 100 hours, and I'm not sick of it yet.
At least.
At least 100, probably more than 100 hours. It's so
Yeah.
many hours.
Yeah.
And what is the coolest thing that has happened while working on Slay the Stars? And you can take that in any way you want to.
I don't know if this is actually the coolest thing, but it's the first thing that popped right into my head, so that's what I'm going to answer. Um, and I think we've probably talked about this before, so I'm not going to go super into it, but the episode with the two episodes with the tree man,
Yeah.
and just the fact that that's like a family story, a family thing, and getting to breathe some life into it and like a bigger scale, that was pretty cool. My dad and my brothers, my uncles, they go camping every year. And this year, I guess they were like talking about it. And my uncle, who would tell the story, was there, and I guess like I don't know, it was impactful. And so when I joined them, because my brother had my mom and I join at like the end of their camp trip, because you know guys are guys.
Guys are guys, yeah.
But we came up at the end, and they were just telling me how like they just kept talking about it, like how cool it was, and I was like, It was just really sweet. So that was really cool. Um, like there's so many cool moments. Just, I think when we put our website out there, like we had a whole photo shoot, like all of those things, there was a lot of it that happened all kind of in the same time frame that was, I don't want to say overwhelming, but sort of. Like it was just, I just remember that we all kept going, holy crap, like what is happening? Like, is this real?
I know. I know. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, especially right at the beginning when we were like getting things done and be like, okay, the website's done. Okay, the pictures are on there. Okay, we've recorded the first 3 episodes. Like,
Hmm.
like just pow, 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 like plowing through all these things. Um, yeah. It's crazy to
Some,
look back on it and how much work it was.
yeah. Another really cool thing was the first time we had hit downloads in all 50 states. That was cool.
Vermont.
Freaking
Took
Vermont.
so long.
I know.
Took so
It did.
long. Um, but yeah, like that was so much fun. Uh, I should show you the country map now. It's wild. It's wild.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like getting downloads from like other countries and then seeing like, you get like one download in a country and the next day you have 2 or 3 downloads in that country and it's like, okay, that person liked it enough that they're listening to the next couple episodes and like we have one
Yeah.
one person who's listening in Lithuania, like my
Yeah.
heart. Um,
Right.
that sort of stuff is really fun. Really fun.
Yeah. Yeah, every time it was either a new country or whatever, it was I actually was the first one in Canada or Mexico. I don't remember, but the first country like outside of our country
I
that
want
we
to say it was
had.
Canada.
Yeah. I remember you telling us and I was like, "Shut up." Like there's ain't no way.
I know. I know. Ugh. And that's what I remember whenever, like, when we were first getting hits, like, outside of Pennsylvania, and then outside of the US, and then getting, like, other continents all over the place. And then,
Hmm. Yep.
it's nuts. It is nuts.
It's it has been such a wild and rewarding journey. And I mean, I still have moments where I'm like, this feels false.
I
Like,
know.
yeah.
I know. And that's why, like, going to Gen Con was so much fun, because, I mean, I know, like, we got to run into so many people who we've only met
Hmm.
online through podcasting. And some of these other people have their own dope podcasts that,
Yeah.
it's just wild to be like in a community of people who are so passionate about this stuff who we can just nerd out with.
Yeah. Yeah.
If nothing
I
else comes
know.
from podcasting except for that, it's worth it, right?
I don't think I'm ever going to feel like a professional though, because I know when we would run into those people, it would just be like, oh my gosh, wow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rather than like, oh, hey, buddy, who also does the same thing as I
Yeah.
do. Like, um, but yeah, also I still feel a little like slightly guilty because I think the day that you guys met everyone was the day that I got completely overwhelmed and
You
I
did.
freaked out and I was like, I need to hide in this hotel room.
I know. I know. It made me so sad because yeah, we had like the little podcaster meetup out at all the food trucks. We were hanging out. And Arthur and I were out here being social butterflies and poor
I
Jen
know,
was
I was
just
so proud of you.
stressed.
Yeah, I don't know what it like we went back just for the break and then it was like time to go back out and I was just like I cannot do this.
Listen, like you said, strong introvert. Like
Yeah,
everybody,
yeah.
the thing that kind of shocked me was like a lot of podcasters tend to lean introverted. So like people were asking like, "Oh, where's Jen?" And we'd be like, "Oh, like Gen Con's been kind of a lot. There's a lot of people here. She just needed a break." And they're like, "I get it. Me too."
Yeah.
Right? Like so many people understand that because they're the same way. I think that's why
Right.
they're podcasters and not streamers. It makes sense.
It does make sense. But what I find funny when we were walking around Gen Con, so before we got there, I remember because I said it to you so many times, like you'd say like, "Oh, I'm so excited." I'm like, "I can't. I'm not excited. I'm nervous as hell." Because I just kept picturing freaking Washington County, Pennsylvania, and all of the like country fair crap that I've been to out there where people just run right into you. And so like that personal space bubble that I love and protect with everything I have no concept of that. So people just run into you. And the last year that I went, I had gone with my dad, and he literally like, he's like, "Hey, we're gonna go over here," and he like pulled me into an area where there weren't a lot of people because he was like, "I could see by the look on your face you were gonna get in a fight," and I was like, "Yeah, probably." Anyway, so that's what I just kept picturing Gen Con to be, because there were so many people. And then I got there, and yeah, there were so many people.
So many.
But they're all my people who all feel the same way that I do. And so while there were a lot of people, and of course you're going to bump, everyone cared about that kind of space. Everyone was polite.
Yes.
And like, I have never seen a crowd like that, let alone a crowd that size, behave that way. Like,
Yeah.
I heard that there was some pushing and shoving and stuff, but like, not anywhere I ever was.
We didn't experience it. Yeah, no, everybody was so cool. It really had this atmosphere of like a community, right? Like people were respectful because we're all in the same community, right? And that was my experience. I'm sorry for anybody who had a negative experience with pushing and shoving, but it was way better than I expected.
Right. Agreed. Yeah, I mean, for sure, it was a lot of people being respectful, which was very much appreciated, or I would have probably not gone back after that first day. But yeah, I still feel like I missed out. I would have liked to have met the other people, but I could not that day.
Maybe next year we'll go to a smaller con.
We kind of went to the biggest
We
one
went
immediately.
to we kind of ran before we walked. And it was great.
What we do.
Yeah, it is what we do. All right, so we are at the end of our time. So final question. Any cool new ideas you have for projects? Anything that you're excited about that's coming up? Any last thoughts that you want to put out there before we end it?
Well, outside of the Curious Creations, I don't really have any new projects, just continuous items to add to that project, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And to be really honest, I'm a little afraid already. I'm, again, running before I'm walking, that I'm going to run out of ideas before I run out of the desire to do it. So, again, if anyone has any ideas, feel free to shoot us a message. Outside of that, I do have some like personal art projects that I'm working on. Mostly with watercolor, but also some painting of, I found some like wood slices that I want to point. Okay, I'll just tell you. I'm painting poisonous flowers on them.
Yes.
Because I really love the idea of a poison garden.
I love
for
that.
No reason.
For no reason whatsoever. No, I love that. You did was it just like sketching, or was it you did like a long thing with like different poisonous flowers on it? I remember that thing was so cool and so pretty. I loved it.
Yeah, I did a watercolor of the poisonous flowers, but I want to put these on like wood slices, almost like samples or something. I don't know. I've also been really in the mood to pick up polymer clay, but I'm trying to finish the projects that I have before I add more. But I always fail every time I try to do that. So we'll see. Maybe I get into polymer clay soon.
Jen's apartment is like a craft store.
Oh, also, it actually really is. I also really want to get into wood burning. So like, that's also an option.
Okay. I feel like anytime that I am like, I want to try this craft, I should just go to you first and be like, so Jen,
100%.
do you have the materials to do X, Y, Z? And you're like, I do have that. Indeed.
Yeah, most likely it'll be like, I'm just missing this one thing if you want to pick it up and come over, and then you can decide whether or not you like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. Well, I think that if you do complete these extra crafts, these like side projects, and you would like, you should share pictures of it on our Patreon because that would be fun for people to see your side crafts. No pressure.
Oh,
You don't
yeah.
have to. But
No, I just always assume that no, like that. I said that wrong. It's not that I assume people don't want to see it. I just never think that people are going to want to see it.
yeah,
But I mean, sure,
I think
I can
people
share.
would love to see it. And I know I like to see it. That's how I know other people want to see it.
Well, all right. I'll take more pictures.
Okay. Well, this was so much fun. I'm glad we finally sat down to do this. I think like yearly, the three of us should sit down and do one of these things where we just BS for an hour. Because I always get lots of fun, titillating ideas. This was so much fun, and we'll see you all for the next episode of Slay the Stars. Bye.
Bye.
Intro music by Isaac Vyers. Character designs by Cam Gonzalez. Produced by Leah Hemrick. Graphics designer Jenn Kearney. And audio engineer Arthur Polino.